welcome all to our closing session for Day 2 of Cartist Festival 2020 on opportunities and challenges to hear from some of the leading Indian women artists. It's quite heartening to see a panel of all women representation. To begin with, I would like to introduce Durga Kenthola, whose visual artwork documents history along with contemporary popular events. She has been working on many layers of history around works that are with various techniques on multifarious surfaces over many years, and she's been working on painting, sculpture, installations since 1998 and involved in contemporary miniatures, culmination of various schools with contemporary work. Welcome, Durga.
Thank you.
Secondly, we'd like to introduce Kavita Jaiswal, an exponent of contemporary abstract expressionism, who began her journey as an artist in 1980s. She is a recipient of Distinguished Achievement Awards by Lalit Kala Academy for her contribution to art, National Fellowship for Fine Art by the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, Charles Wallace India Trust Award from British Council, and many other accolades. Her works have been shown at prestigious shows at the Christie's, London Gallery of Modern Art, UNESCO Power of Peace Exhibition, Bangkok, to name a few. We are very grateful to have you, Kavitaji, at the festival. Next, I would like to introduce Kavita Nayar, who is another senior artist who obtained her degree from Shanti Niketan, West Bengal, followed by Masters in College of Art, New Delhi. She has been a recipient of many awards and scholarships like French Government Scholarship to work in Site International, the Arts, Charles Wallace India Trust Fellowship, visiting artist in Oxford University, England, and held many solo exhibitions. Welcome, Kavitaji, at the festival.
Thank you.
And this whole session would be led by our artist Lubna Sen, who is an independent art curator and consultant and founder of the Art Route. She has curated several culturally significant projects with the IGNCA, New Delhi, Lalit Kala Academy, and Museum of Folk Art. As a consultant, she mentors collectors to appreciate and acquire fine art. Has an MBA with 15 years of experience and an MA in history from National Museum Institute, Delhi. Very happy to have Lubna for this session, and I'll hand over to you to take forward the discussion. We look forward to an exciting session.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Cartist Festival Virtual 2020 edition. It's an amazing event and a very apt event right now, going virtual, and with our passion for art and car and design. So that's something that it's a great thing to be a part of it. Thank you so much for making us a part of it. And I'm really looking forward to having a great discussion. Today we have the topic of the challenges and the opportunities for the Indian women artists. And how I would start is by asking each one of you to talk a little about your artistic journey. It would be very difficult to have your entire repertoire of work to speak in few minutes, but we would love to have a peek into your artistic journey. So I'll start first with Kavita Nayar ji, and Kavita ma'am, while would be looking at your work, I think our team will be putting up the slides. Give us an idea about what was your journey, and since we are on this topic, any part of you as a woman, or any role that you played as a woman, shaped you as an artist? Would love to know about that too.
Hi, thank you so much, Cat Artist Festival, for inviting me for this webinar. Actually, as a woman artist, frankly speaking, I never ever considered myself as a woman artist. I always thought that I was an artist, and I never had any differentiation that an artist has to be a woman or a man. And I've been in this field now 40 years. In college days also, I was never made to feel that I was a woman, because maybe I was a tomboy and I acted like a man itself. And since it is also very very interesting to know like what the kind of childhood you had. We were 4 sisters, so we were never treated as women. We were treated as human beings, and my parents always taught us that we have to be good humans, and that's enough. That's more than enough. Man or a woman doesn't really matter. So when I took up the decision to be an artist at the age of 14 itself, it was difficult for my parents to think that what an artist, what will she do with being an artist. They wanted me to be a doctor or an engineer, way back in 74. I'm talking, no, not even 74, 72. I decided that I wanted to be an artist. So that's why it's really interesting that I stuck to my guns. I said, no, I want to be an artist, and that's it. So when I went forward with all my college education and all, I always felt that I had to prove to myself and to my parents that I am doing something uh, better than being a doctor and an engineer. And today I'm so happy that I'm able to follow my passion, and I'm really like I'm thankful to God that God gave me courage to carry on with my creative pursuits. And I'm a dancer also, Kathakali dancer also. I did that for almost for 5-6 years. So, but then there was a time when I had to decide, should I be a dancer or a painter? I said, no, I want to be a visual artist only. So
Okay.
that's it. Yeah.
So can we have a look at some of your paintings, Himanshu or anybody from the team? Could you share the screen for Kavitaji's paintings?
So this is, as an artist, every artist is trying to look for a language for himself or herself. And this has always been a struggle for me. Like I wanted to always do something different each time that I was approaching my work. So this is search within and beyond. So eyes are symbolic of that search. So they are searching outside and within also, because I'm very spiritually inclined from the age of 16, 17. I was into Osho, and I was reading Krishnamurti also. So I had a very spiritual bent of mind. So my works got related to that also. Yeah, this is a work called Spell of Struggle. And in this, again, it's almost like when you're struggling, you are looking for yourself, and then you find yourself totally into a box. And suddenly you come out of that box, and that it's a Pandora's box that you were in. And then suddenly you are facing the world, the struggle, the challenges of the world. And
Yeah.
as a woman, I would never say that I ever felt that I was trying to challenge anybody. I was always trying to challenge myself. And for me, that was more important than being like
Mm.
creating a challenge for others. It was always a fight with myself, a struggle within me only. And I think I'm happy that God has given me strength to carry on with this struggle. Can we have the next one? So this is a series of manuscripts that I did, and in fact, the middle work is in Prime Minister House now since 2002. And this was again Brahma the creator, Vishnu the sustainer, and Shiva the destroyer. It was a very significant work for me. As I said, that I was spiritually inclined, so I was reading a lot of spiritual books those days. And then I realized how Brahma has created, and how the circle of creation never ends. It just keeps going back to the circle. The spiral is never ending. It's again going back to that. And the Vishnu the sustainer and Shiva the destroyer are symbolically represented with their colors blue and yellow. These are actually drawings, and for my works that I keep doing, and these are doodles, you can say that from these kind of images, the work comes out, and work gets enhanced, and it takes proper shape on its own.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. This you can see that there is a drastic change from what I was doing earlier in 90s and early 2000. This is a work from 2009. Suddenly the flowers came into my works, and basically these are they were created after a very sad happening in my life, when I lost my daughter, 23-year-old daughter. So suddenly I started looking for her in the flowers, and a series of works with umbilical cords, and the feeling of motherhood for the first time came into my works. All
Mm.
these years I was always looking at the universal man. I was not looking at the man woman, but a universal human being. And suddenly Sakshi, my daughter's images started coming into my work, the flowers came into my work, and there was from the abstract, figurative abstract, it turned into something totally different. And so this is the first work after 2000, like after her passing away 2009, where I call it Me the Flower. So she's been there with me always now. Yeah.
Yes.
Next. So again, this is another work which is a continuation of the flower series, where I call it Born Again and Again or something like that, where or In My Womb, I think, yeah. So the umbilical cord is from the, it's like the stem of the lotus flower is being shown as the umbilical cord, and going into the so this is like for me, she's always there as a flower. Next.
Could we have the next one?
Yeah. So this is more clear, where the fetus is there, and it's that's what I'm trying to say, that how I didn't realize how
Mm.
I responded to the whole situation, and how emotionally I was doing my work without realizing. I was never even bothered. Like my husband would always say, Kavita, what are you doing? Why are you showing these works? Or why
Mm.
are you doing these works? I said, no, I have to do it because uh, I have to live with it, because God has given me that feeling that I have to live with it. So why can't I just draw these? And it gives me a kind of a feeling of togetherness, of being with her only. So this motherhood came it came in, as I said, suddenly it just popped up. I don't know from where. Yeah.
Can we have the next one?
It's not clear.
It's
Yeah.
clear.
So these are again, like I work in zinc with zinc plates, and these are zinc plates itself. I made prints out of these small fetus forms,
Right.
and they are almost like, now again the whole it's gone into a different level, where it's actually a flower itself. You can say it's a
Right.
sunflower also, because the circle has been very. I realize that circle has been very important for me. My work goes back to circle. That is, you can always say that it goes back to that bindu stage,
Mm.
where we are taking birth from there. So these are all small forms of fetuses which have been assembled together on an acrylic sheet.
Wonderful.
This is Born Again and Again. As we say that life is it never you know our spirits are always there, atma is always there. So I was doing these umbilical forms. So here you see so many fetuses. So every fetus has a different color, so it's almost like changing clothes, as they say in spiritualism also, that our life never ends. It keeps where it goes into the other world. You're just changing your clothes. So with that reason, for that reason, I don't know, I didn't realize I was doing it, but I wanted to have all the fetuses in different colors. So that means, like, we are taking birth every time, and every time it's a different cloth, different avatar that we come out with. Yeah.
Okay.
Next. This is again one of those series again, where in my womb, where I've again shown that the lotus is like a bud. It's in a bud state, and the fetus is also a bud. So I'm comparing both the buds together, and if you I didn't realize that there were 9 fetuses in this. So it's
Mm.
almost like giving birth
Yeah.
every day. So actually, I can be very frank about it, that when I do my works, I feel I'm giving birth to every day. I'm giving birth.
Wonderful.
basically I've done so much work, but then you don't have time to go show all that work.
Yes.
So I just thought that whatever happens, because these very works are very important. And I realized that Sakshi was just barely 6 months old when I just left for Paris for 9 months, for 10 months actually, and didn't realize that she will be leaving me like this just for my whole lifetime. I had just left her for a year, and then, but I suppose God has different designs for for you. That's it.
That's true, ma'am. I'm think you just said it right. God probably has different designs, and it was interesting for me, who I'm aware of your later works and these works. Interesting
Yes,
for me to see the earlier works and how your language changed based on
yes,
your life experiences.
yes.
And once again, thank you for taking out time, and we do wish a speedy recovery for Pavan sir, and
Thank you.
all our best wishes to him. And
Thank
now
you.
I'd like to go over to Durga Kainthola ji, and would like to know more about your journey as an artist. And you work with so many materials, and there are so many things that informs your art practice. There is, I would like to know about that. Would like to know about those historical context and textile and embroidery and so many other different diverse thing that comes into it. So if you could give us a glimpse of your journey and your practice.
Well, thank you, Lubna. My journey in art has been full of freedom. So, as Kavita said, there were four sisters. So, even we have four sisters. I have three more sisters.
We are three sisters, so I think
Uh,
this
yeah, and we have four sisters and three brothers. So I'm number five. So I have
okay.
grown up with all the freedom. Nobody ever disturbed me in what I'm doing, what I'm thinking.
Hmm.
Like it was like full freedom since childhood.
Hmm.
So though in my family, there nobody was an artist. It
Hmm.
was engineer or it was teachers or something like this. So I don't know how exactly I got into art. It's very strange, but I've been doing this since as a child, and everybody at home, whatever I used to do, they used to appreciate. So for me, like, I never think that if everybody criticizes my work, it doesn't matter to me. And if anybody appreciates my work, I take both in the same way, because since childhood, anything I did, everybody said it was good. So I think that is probably what really helped me to build up.
Hmm.
So anything that was thrown by my mother, like even when I was maybe 8 or 9 year old, whether she threw away a shoe box or she threw away a thermos flask which was broken, and then I could see those mirrors. So those, inside those the thermos flask that you have the whatever the mirror like thing. So I used to take all those things and put them together, and I don't know how. Like nobody in my house ever painted or did, but I used to get all these strange ideas. And I kept, even from a shoebox, I used to just imagine how are these people making films. When I was in Maharashtra, Maharashtra, so I used to watch a lot of children's. Then I was a kid, so I used to watch this Marathi film. So I would just wonder, how do they make a movie? So I used to cut from a newspaper all these filmy heroines things that used to come in the newspaper and put them together in a shoebox. I cut a square and I rolled all those filmy things, I stuck them together, and I said, "Oh, this is how a film is made." So for me, it was like, okay, all these great filmmakers are making a film in a shoebox. So somehow, like, I've grown with a lots and lots of freedom. So since I belong to a matriarchal society, I'm from Uttarakhand. So I had seen the whole of my family, my grandparents, the women or the men in the house. There was no difference. So I never know that what is gender biasness called. Men or women, because that was not something I ever felt as a child or even as a growing up as a teenager or anything. So somehow, like I was studying the school where I was studying, they didn't have anything such as art to teach. So here, the science teacher used to come and say, "Okay, make an apple," and I was never interested in making an apple because I had my own vision, but they never encouraged me. So anyway, I think it's only in the 10th, 8th standard when one of the teacher who came, my Mr. Pachpande, Ramesh Pachpande. So he was a teacher who was well trained. So he thought I should go to JJ. So that's how I didn't even know JJ existed. Neither my family knew. So they just told me where JJ is situated. So the moment I got my result of 12th standard, I just went to JJ and I got the admission there. So it was, everything was very cool. And as I said, even in JJ, when I was studying, there was nothing like I'm a girl or he's a boy or to what. There was nothing. Like,
Mm.
I never faced, even in college, anything by my teachers that is called gender biased or anything like that.
Interesting.
And that's how my whole creativity kept on increasing. So, Lubna, if you would, maybe you can show some of the images and maybe
Yes,
I can talk
I would
about it.
request the team to show the images of Durgaji.
Yeah, so for me, like it's not just since I was, I was born in Calcutta, then I moved to, my parents moved to Mumbai, and so traveling and meeting people and seeing, going to the small fairs where I used to see this embroidery and lot of things. So, like my mind is full of experiments. It's not a something I feel that if I want to do it, I'll do it by hook or by crook. I'll make sure that it comes on my work. So here this is also about a war. You can see Bhagat Singh and there the Gandhiji's clock behind, and the camouflage print which the army people around the world wear. So here also I have done some embroidery, the sequence on the camouflage print, some sequence. Then I have this strange idea that anything I see anywhere, I travel a lot around in Indian villages and small towns. So whatever I see around, I put them together. And here is a painting which is around 4 by 5 feet size. The painting behind where Bhagat Singh is shown with multiple images.
Yeah.
And then I have I was just trying to depict how it's not just that just the army, but the whole country is involved into when it is a war, but no one wants war, so it is a peace. So this was a more a message of peace than anything else. Can I go to the second image, please? This was sent for the Jerusalem
Okay.
exhibition. Now, this is in the first print Vinale of Lalit Kala Academy. So here also, like I had done, I had done there was a project in 2015-16 by Raj Industries. So there in Panipat, we were supposed to do tapestry. So over there, I decided to do images on Panipat. So this is Sadashiv Rao Bhau, which I've done. So it is a large silk screen. This is almost around 3 by 5 feet, this particular image. So
Okay.
here also there is not just one technique, but there is this, we have the silk screen here. Then I have done what you say, the coffee is used here. Then little bit of block print is used. So for me, everything I see, it if I in a painting, it is necessary. If I feel that I have to do something, maybe it's a block print or it's an embroidery, I make it sure that I do it, irrespective of, I don't even think what people think, because I have not grown up thinking what people will think. I've grown up thinking what I want to do. So that is how this has multiple techniques used in this. Next image,
Right.
please. Now, this again, as I was talking to you about in Panipat with the project that we had to do about this, it was the carpet industry, the Raj overseas. So
Mm.
there we had to that this particular thing is made in that, and it is called the glory of the past. Actually, the tapestry was done during the project time, but
Okay.
and the chair which is there, which is it looks like a sun. So here I was actually paying
Right.
my respect to the weavers,
Wonderful.
the particular chair. And so yeah, so I made it the fibers which I just made it fall into on the flow, and it looks like a sun. So this was the glory of the past, because Sadashiv Rao Bhab, which is the Panipat, during the Panipat war. So this is and then I've shown this small gramophone, which is the old one. So
Mm.
here I was just trying to put history together, whether it's the Panipat ki ladai. Now, when I was in 8th standard, we had a chapter on Panipat, and I hated history. Reading, I could never remember the dates, but the images were always I remember person, I may not read, but even if I read something, I get stuck, because one particular thing I like and I get stuck,
Mm.
then I can go further.
Right.
So somehow being an artist really helped me, because here I'm putting Panipat, the Sadashiv Rao Bhau, then I'm putting the gramophone, and then
Right.
the chairs for the weavers, because I thought if we think of the, when when man when as a, before we were civilized, all went naked. So here I was thinking the weavers were not there, all gone naked. So it's better we have to pay them a
How
respect.
wonderful
So this
parallel.
chair is a respect to the weavers that, okay, we are all dressed up.
That's a wonderful
So I have
parallel.
something very funny thing also sometime, behind all.
Right.
So next image, please. Yeah, now here I am not like now this is about in Ahmedabad. There was Ahmedabad art fairs, and I was supposed to do something related with Gandhiji.
Mm,
So here I had a like some film of Gandhiji taken from the somewhere from the Google. I found out. So this is what I just made um, a long it is an acrylic tube in which
mm,
I wrote some of whatever Gandhiji's whatever he said. So it was the text was written on it, and it went revolving. So when I
mm.
had this image of Gandhiji, the film behind, I had a video. So it was moving. The tube is revolving. So
Okay.
I just
And
tried to create a kind of an aura kind of a thing at the same time, little drama. So when
right.
I do installation, I like the drama to be there. So whatever, I don't know, it's all kish pitch, whatever, people call it as kitsch pitch. I said, okay, it's whatever you may say, but this is what my vision about installation is at times. Next image, please. Yeah, this is a very serious thing, especially when there was so much of rape and molestation and all these things taking place. It's not just in 2012 about the Nirbhaya thing, but it's been going on for generation now.
Right.
So here I created an image of goddess Durga.
Mm,
Now here it's a goddess Durga, but I've shown a pregnant here.
mm.
If you can see the abdomen,
Right.
it's a pregnant goddess Durga, and with the 10 hands, and all those balls you can see, they are the seeds, because as a woman we give birth to the offspring, procreation, and this is all the seeds. So for me, but when it comes to a social, if I have to think about,
Mm,
raping a woman is like her womb get wounded forever, and
mm,
she is the one because of whom the universe survives, because she's the one who can give birth. So these are the seeds. So for me, it is the tales of battered, sold, and wounded womb. So here the goddess is shown that all this is the seeds which a woman, procreation, and she's a pregnant. So it is a message like, okay, when a woman is raped, her womb get wounded. So my work may have history, may have this, but when it comes to something serious happening around, so I do put it in my work, and this is around 6 feet by 5 feet. That's the diameter of the whole thing. So this was a very serious work, and I think but usually they say that if you show goddess in a pregnant or goddess like this, people, they don't like, that somebody's Hindutva, people will come. But no, when you really have a very strong meaning, nobody even bothers to disturb your
objective.
thought. Yeah, next image, please. This was done around, I think it's 2098 around. It was the first mother and child series. So this is more like, I had my 3 children, so they were very small. But then at the same time, you have sometimes the reflection of what motherhood is there. So I did few works on the mother and child series. And as I told you, I have been very much attracted to history, whether it is miniature, whether it is painting, whether it is war, or it can be anything that I like, or I may get disturbed sometimes. So whatever it is. So here I have all the miniatures. If you
Yeah.
see around the painting, there are
The
images
hashias,
taken.
you have taken the
Yeah,
hashia format of
yeah.
the paintings.
So
Yeah.
all different miniatures all together, the contemporary images that it's me as a mother sitting over there with a child, and then I have all the miniatures all around it. And since '98, I've been doing a series of work called The Wardle and the History of Art, in which I often use the technique of gouache.
Mm,
So from here, how it actually, when I work, I go back and forth. It's not that what I did, I forget. No. Now, I was doing miniatures at that time. Then I transformed it to contemporary miniatures, and it is taken from, how one by one, how you really get into the thematic back and forth. When it comes to history, you can't get stuck into one thing. So anyway, so
Right.
now I've been doing, since 98, I've been doing a whole series of pop art. And
Hmm.
many time I, of course, sometime, when I need to do embroidery in my work, I employ a karigar, because see, I can do something. I have an idea, but I can't be a embroidery person, and I can't be this, and I can't be everything. So, but I put the people together. So that's how I also make money, and they also make money and make hay
Right.
while the sun shines.
Right.
That's it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's a great, cheerful body of work, ma'am, and it's wonderful to see that. And I was just thinking what you just said about history and how we hated history when we were kids. And but history as a visual storyteller can be so strong. I mean, when you have your perspective to history and have some visual medium talking about it, the impression of it is so much more stronger. So thank you, ma'am,
Thank
for
you.
the I know all of these are so brief. Would have loved to have individual chats with all of you, but I guess we have to go by the format and the time limit. I would now like to talk to Kavita Jaiswal, and I do have questions also. Maybe the part B of the question I'll reserve for after you show your works, and maybe you describe your journey and your artistic inquiry and how it has been.
Okay. Thanks, Lubna, and what a wonderful display of images by Durga as well as Kavita before me. And I totally resonate with this panel out here because I'm also coming from a family of three sisters. So we can call ourselves a
Oh
sister.
God.
We can actually that's a great one. 3344. That's a wonderful connection.
And as early as when I was 20, I suddenly gave up my master's in English literature from the Delhi University, and I was able to take that singular decision for myself to become an artist. And I joined Triveni Kala Sangam and trained under Rameshwar Bhutaji and Shobhaji, and there was no looking back after that. So I was really highly supported within my family. My mother herself was a PhD already at that time, and there was an academic background. My father was in the army, of course, a true soldier, and then that's where the journey all started. And I think I'll probably just plunge into the slides,
Yeah,
maybe,
sure,
and
sure.
take it from there and keep speaking while
Yeah,
Himanshu
I think that'll be better. Himanshu, if you can have the slides of Kavitaji.
to tell you about my journey as such, as a woman and as an artist, and as Durgaji and Kavita have said previously, that I did not feel any challenges on my way and my journey. I had a very loving and a peaceful journey as a woman, as well as an artist and a mother and a wife and everything possible. And I started my work in the 1980s under Rameshwar Bhutaji, and of course, it was to start with, and there was a recognizable image. But very early in my journey, I came into abstraction, and the recognizable image and the form and the surface tension just began to disappear, and out came the essence of the real, the essence of the real form, and that's what I continued to work with through my mark making in line, tone, texture, color, and this is where I am still with abstraction. The elimination of the recognizable image was in stages and in steps. Most of the abstract artists would, also, because we do start from the real and then go towards the essence.
Yeah,
So let's have the slides now.
yeah.
And
I think as you are an abstract expressionist, and abstractism anyway has also pretty notorious uh, relationship with feminism, right? In 1950s and 60s, when the male artists were much more they came on the forefront because the society that time it was like that, and the female artists who would actually pursue abstract expressionism and also reductionism had gone behind, and they were later on recognized. So, what was there any, and what usually is spoken about is that women went to abstract forms to become gender neutral and so like the way women authors used to not write their women name and write something initials so that people do not understand what it is, so the work so that the work comes forward, and the fact that there are women coming forward. And so that was an interesting history of what it used to be in the mid the 20th century. So was there any part of that played it, and or how did you get into abstract pretty early? I mean, since you've been doing into this for last 30 years, so how was when was the turning point, and how, or was there anything of this kind of context that you resonate with?
I wouldn't say really that I was kind of influenced by the past in the mid
Hmm.
1940s when abstract expressionism came in. Yes, I do resonate with the struggles of the women artists at that time. And, even in the Bauhaus school
Right.
of art, architecture, and design, Joseph Alber's wife was the only woman who
Right.
joined, was allowed to join
Yeah.
the classes, and she was only given weaving as a subject. You
Yeah.
know so,
Yeah.
I mean, it was that gender biased.
Yeah.
So,
It's fascinating how it is.
my journey as an abstractionist came from a feeling of freedom from within. I
Okay.
just wanted freedom in every way in my life.
Okay.
And as as we all know, as artists, our works resonate whatever is deep within us. They speak about our soul. And so this freedom I also got in my physical life from
Hmm.
my family around me. So there was nothing stopping me from getting into the abstract.
Right. Right. Okay.
I also was following some really, of course, profound masters, the Dalai Lama and Thich Nhat Hanh,
Hmm.
and they always spoke about the no beginning and no end of
Right.
existence,
Right.
and everything happening in the flow and everything happening in continuation.
Right.
And that was really fascinating me. And although as a young person, I was kind of trying to find meaning through what they were saying, and I was trying to kind of make it practical and feel practically in my life. And the first time I actually kind of immediately it hit me was when I was at my residency in Edinburgh Printmakers in Scotland. I was doing a residency in non-toxic printmaking methods, and I was doing these etchings. And as Kavita would also know, how printmaking studio is. It has quite a lot of noise. There are machines, there are artists, there are rollers going along. And but I completely, all that sound used to just go gum, and go into a bubble of water, and I could feel that silence. I could feel a very deep peace and joy within me.
Hmm.
That was also the first time after my children were born and all. I had left everybody home in India, and I'd gone abroad and I had traveled out. That was my first travel abroad too. So it was quite a kind of a releasing factor for me
Wow.
as in my personal life. But that silence which I felt over there continues till today within me through my work. And
Hmm.
as I moved I came back and I exhibited at the British Council and in New Delhi. And my solo exhibition at that time was called Silent Moments.
Hmm.
And I did these a set of etchings, which probably, if we can switch on
Yeah.
otherwise never mind. There were these white on white embossed etchings, and they did not have any color in them.
Okay.
And I deliberately left out the color, and luckily for me, the plates that I had etched were pretty deep, so I could get an embossed impression, on the paper.
Hmm. I
And
saw those images in the morning.
yeah, the impressions would just come alive just with the play of light on them,
Right.
and for me, it's so peaceful as an image. After that, then my next solo was in 2005 with the Art Heritage. And Mr. Ibrahim Alkazi, of course, he's the godfather, my godfather as an
Hmm.
artist. Always Art Heritage has supported me all my life. Even today with Amal Alana and Tariq, I mean, it's just a beautiful journey with them.
Hmm.
And Alkazi Saab was there, and we were planning this solo exhibition together, and he was he was very, very keen on knowing everything about the work, and every image and every slide. And it used to have physical slides and photographs at that time. And I had to make this little album for him and, show it to him and discuss it over the counter. And he would talk about every speck, every line, every tone. And he would ask me, why is this here and what is happening? And he really grilled and grilled me. And then suddenly he says, in this very theatrical style of his, he says, Kavita, I think that you have begun to recognize what abstraction means through your work. I took that as such a huge blessing coming from him. And he said, should we call your exhibition Cognizance? Recognizing the fact that abstraction had finally entered my work and the disappearance of the recognizable form was happening, although still there were these geometric shapes which were there in some of my works.
Okay.
Following that, the journey continued, and a lot of water flowed under the bridge while I was still eliminating whatever I felt was recognizable. And then came the exhibition in 2011 at Art Consult, New Delhi, which was called No Beginning, No End. And here, of course, I completely felt that there was this inner space which was peaceful, which was silent, and which was universal in its spirit. So this is where, I wish we were looking at some images, but never mind.
Maybe when it comes, we will run through it otherwise. But okay, and yeah, please.
There's a poem that comes to my mind, and I'm actually at the moment I'm having a solo exhibition with the Art Heritage on the Tap India platform.
Okay.
On these days. And when I'd written my artist statement to Tariq, and just in the tradition of all the Al-Ghazis, and of course he's an Alana, but yes, Amal Alana's son. So he comes back to me and he says, I love your statement in paragraph, but do you think I can put it into a poem? Because your work is so poetic. I said, sure, Tariq. So he sends me the same words, put into verse. So maybe I can just read a little bit,
Oh, yes, of course. Since we can't see your images, maybe, that would be.
This is also all in the divine plan and in the flow.
Yeah, technology can be a friend and a foe at the same time. So that is something that we have learned in 2020. Yeah.
So this is, also this poem resonates with my work in 2011 in the exhibition No Beginning, No End, where, there were layers of these sedimentation and, how the color and the paint and the granules of ink would just settle on the paper and dry and just leave their marks behind. And the essence or, the life force, which was the water, would just dry out and just leave these impressions. And I always felt that nothing disappears without a trace in life. And at that time, I was, kind of more resonating with the physical world around me. And but this poem got written much later and right now. So it says, it's here again and then gone. On the wetness of the paper and pools of water and ink, I render my paintings in layers. In the physical world, nothing disappears without a trace. Layers of matter settle. Layers dry, fascinating and unexpected. Just like each moment unfolds in time, the physical work too is here again and then gone.
That's a description, yeah.
So, so it's so uncanny as to how there is actually no timeline, Actually, I really have come to believe that there is nothing called time. And from here, I would move on to some images, which I don't know, I'm now talking through my presentation, which I can see in my mind. There are images that follow. There is a painting that is called Prayers, which I've done very recently during the lockdown. And, this was in the middle this was in the early lockdown when, everything was so quiet outside. And there was more going inward. And, one had the luxury of not knowing what next, not knowing where to go. We didn't need to go anywhere. And there was no next, and everything time was just standing still. And then I did this work. It just happened on its own because the work now appears on the paper or the canvas on which I'm, working. And my body kind of becomes an instrument where the energies just flow and, the mark making happens. And it always then speaks back and says, yes, this is your current present moment, and it's uncanny how this whole thing happens. So this work I call Prayers, and in which there is this little piece of washi paper and rice paper, which I had kind of glued together and placed on the sheet, white sheet. And then there was this flowing ink and a Wallace text, which I'm also, kind of writing these days in my works, which means really, it can't be deciphered as a recognizable language, but the text is there, and it just appears and disappears in those pools of water. And how this book of prayer it's just a symbolic form there. I mean, I didn't mean it to be drawn as a book of prayers, but it just feels that way, that it just opened and unfolded and just set off a plethora of prayer in the air and blessed the entire humanity and all the living beings in this planet. And it was so beautiful to do that work. And I had goose pimples after it happened and it appeared. And and then of course there are works called in my current exhibition, which is on the Tap India platform. Maybe some of the viewers here maybe can now, after this discussion, tap onto artheritage.com or look at Tap India and see my works there, even on Artsy, and there are various links floating around everywhere. And there are these works which are my current works, which are letters. For one are a set of works which are called Letters to the Wind. And these works I did at the end of 2019. I was with my daughter in the United States, and I used to go for these. She used to go off for work, and I would be all lonely and alone. And I would go off on these very long walks, and I would see these beautiful colors of autumn and fall. And it's absolutely in flaming oranges and yellows and stuff. Of course, my work, my physical work, the colors remain a lot in my mind, and when they appear in the work, they're quite muted and quite gentle. So in these works also, the colors are not that bright, but yes, the color palette is from the blossoms. And here I would just walk and I would feel this entire energy of the universe surrounding me and cozily holding me and hugging me and holding me together. And these thoughts and these words would just flow onto the surface of the wind, and I could almost feel as I was writing letters to the wind. And then I would come back home, and my daughter always has this temporary studio for me because I spent a couple of months with her every year. So I come back home and I pick up this paper, and these works begin. And I did a set of 6 works at that time called Letters to the Wind.
That's
and so my most recent work right now is again Landscapes of Memory and Experience. And before this, I just wanted to tell you about 2 works which happened in the studio, which are called burnt manuscripts found in the forests of no time, which is, of course, metaphorically speaking. And here what happened, there was a small fire in my house, and some of my paper works got burnt. And I was able to retrieve a few pieces, and I put together these collages on 2 separate sheets, and new works were born. So it's actually the recycling of energy and the recycling of everything, and nothing really is planned. Everything is nothing, and everything is happening in the divine plan. With the push of the beautiful universal energy surrounding. And then let me see where I can go with this discussion.
I do have a few more questions for all of you. So maybe hopefully the images will come back and then we can get back, ma'am, if that's okay with you. Coming to I'm throwing this to all 3 of you and whoever wants to take it up. So our topic was, let me sum up by what I see. I mean, the commonality between all 3 of you and me. One, of course, is multiple sisters, growing up with them. And I can totally relate to that. The sense of, there is no sense of inequality that one feels, I think, when you are brought up with many daughters at home. I think that is, I think situation is more equitable. That's something that is a takeaway for me too. It was interesting to see that connection. And also, I guess all of you got a lot of liberty and education and liberty and, the confidence of pursuing something as creative and as and going to the unknown terrain was probably came from there. The strength and that was probably the reason. Trying to get back to what could be the because the main topic is on women artists. So the question that I want to throw to anybody who wants to take it up is that I mean, I've individually spoken with you all. So are the challenges today really of women artists, or is it challenges for the artist? The challenges that are there, are the gender neutral. They is it relevant at all, this topic itself? I'm just questioning that. The challenges and opportunities for women, is it women have already established themselves in this art scene. So whether we should at all have that kind of a discussion or have a different narrative to it, that is one. And second is, yeah, I mean that's basically what my question is. Is there women artists, should we have this brand thing anymore? I mean, does it make sense to have women artists? Why not artists?
Yeah, I believe that we shouldn't have that women artist quote unquote, but because basically we all are artists and we all are looking for things within ourselves. So why should we have this kind of a feeling? And then in this day and age, definitely I think no critic is looking at a work of art as if it was a woman's art or a man's art. That's what
Right.
I feel. Yeah, that's what I feel. I don't know about others. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, please, Gaji.
I also feel, that if you take a woman artist's work and a male artist's work, they're visually, sometimes you absolutely cannot make out if it's done by a man or a woman. I mean, even if you look at these lovely artist couples that we have in our fraternity these days, if you look at Mona Rai's work and Amitabh Das, so you look at Arpita and Paranjeet Singh, you look at A. Ramachandran and Chameli Ramachandran, you really can't make out.
Right.
I mean, the signatures, of course, we've grown up with those styles, so we know this is hers and this is ma'am's. But you really can't make out if somebody who's not familiar with the imagery. And then we also have male artists like Gopi Gajwani who do such a sensitive, delicate work.
Right.
So how can we say that this is done by a man or this is done by a woman?
Yeah, we should not have it. In fact, the stereotypical I was just thinking while listening to you, it's across, right? We say women doctors, women lawyers, women this, women politician. We don't say men politician, men doctors, men this.
That's actually, yeah. Yeah.
So, Durgaji, you were saying something. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's like, earlier or even recent, when somebody takes interview of a women artist and then they will write in the newspaper, she's a mother, she's a wife.
Right.
Why she's a mother? Why? I said, I tell them before only, you're going to write just she's an artist, not that she's a mother, she's a wife, she's a good wife, she's a bad wife. I think, what wife? For men, as you said, Lubna, that you don't write a woman politician. You don't say Mr. PM is a male or a female. Just leave that alone. An artist is an artist. Why you want to say that she's a mother and whether she's married or she's not married or she has children or she doesn't have a children or whatever? Why should you mention that with a tag?
Right.
And they will ask them, how do you manage both? Well, how do you manage your professional life and how do you manage your home, children? I said, well, it is part of us. We manage everything because we have learned time management so beautifully as a woman.
Right.
I think we learn the time management in such a beautiful way that everything moves cool. Nothing gets disturbed. Like even if I'm in Mumbai or I'm in anywhere abroad, my children will say, "Mommy, sabji nahi hai ghar mein." My maid will say, "There's no vegetable in the house." So I'll call the vegetable vendor from there to here, and I fix up the whole house from wherever I am. It hardly makes a difference whether I'm here or whether I'm there, because every small thing, I'm just saying, as a woman, we have, somehow God has gifted us with this multitask. Then, the Durga has, the goddess has 10 hands. So we all have, as a woman, we manage everything so beautifully. We have our in-laws, we have our old mother. My mother is 90, she's with me. But nothing like that. I have managed my time. So we all women manage our time. So I don't think newspaper or any magazine should ask, she's a wife, she's a
I think that's still
children.
that
Why? Just forget
stereotypical
it.
idea is still going on,
Yeah,
and
I think they
that,
must.
yeah, I think.
I think they must grow out. They must grow out of it. They must grow out of it. They
But
should
you know
stop.
something,
Like I think it's one.
in the morning I was just thinking of this, and I just thought we also call male nurses. We never say female nurses. So it is the tradition of a gender which is attached to the profession. We do call male nurses. We will specify that, there are male nurses, but we don't say female nurses. So there are few on the other side also, I guess there are these kind of, things which are also there. So coming back to obviously what I now want to discuss with all three of you. All three are established, you've been having your practices for so many years and you're successful. So what you see when you were growing as an artist in the early days, and now what you see in terms of patronage, in terms of promotion, did you ever face any discrimination, or did you ever face any ceiling, any wall? And how do you think it is in the last 10 years, which I personally feel there's been a lot of changes, but do you see any changes there? And anybody would like to give any input, would be nice to hear about it from you all.
You name it, whoever you want to name.
Okay, then I'll name people. Then yes, Kavitaji, Kavita ma'am, I'll call Kavita Nayar, and Kavitaji, I'll call Jaiswal. I think then that'll be
No,
Kavita ma'am, you have any?
Yeah, no. I feel it's all coming from within, basically. It's the kind of security and insecurity that you have within yourselves. And that only gets emphasized, and that only gets manifested also in your day-to-day life and day-to-day dealing with others. So I've never been ever felt that I'm a woman, so I have been discriminated by anybody, any gallery or anything like that.
That doesn't
Because
happen.
your work has to speak for
Sure.
it speaks for yourself. So basically I have never felt it that I have been discriminated, because I've been very satisfied with what I am doing. Maybe I'm not satisfied with the work that I'm doing, because there's always the scope for more and more. There's always scope for bettering yourself. But then as far as my own practice is concerned, I'm happy, because I'm giving away all my energy to that practice. And that's the most important thing. Why should I be bickering about anything else, that ye nahi hua, wo nahi hua? Because it's all my doing. So basically, I feel that if you're secured yourself, then it doesn't really matter who's doing what, basically. Yeah.
Right. So the other thing, which is it's a nagging thing that I, as as a student of art history, and generally I'm just sharing, is that is there any? Do you think there is a requirement for a narrative? Because see, right now the women, earlier it was socio-political, economic, the gap that was there, or it was, as you all have very said, that education and all that mattered earlier, but still there are very few women artists, or let's say Indian artists, very few Indian women artists are recognized internationally. If you look at that, or if you look at a piece of history, as I was talking to Durgaji in the morning, that Nasreen Mohammadi's work was recognized much later. So I still feel that historically, when you see and when you contextualize, and when, like, for example, Kavita Jaiswal ji just mentioned the couple artist, but most of the time amongst them, what stuck in my mind were the husband's name first, to be honest. Do you think there is a need for institution to, some kind of institutional credibility? Is there somewhere that is lacking? Because sometimes we also feel there's very little material for study women artists, in Indian women artists. Let's talk about Indian scene. So we have few, we have a lot of material on Amrita Shergill. We have now a lot of material on Nasreen Mohammadi. But then what's happening in the 60s and 70s and 80s, we don't have enough, I feel that there is a lacking of representation. This is what my, this thing is. So if anyone wants to take up, whether, whatever, fully agree or fully disagree with me, I'm okay. But I just wanted to throw this out there, that I do feel there is a lack of representation when you look at history and when you write. So the narrative that is required, like if you all will be knowing that 1971 essay of Linda Nochlin, where she raised the question why there aren't no women artists, and she was talking in 70s, and what she wrote actually led to more art historical studies on women artists. So something like that, I know in your own successful career you didn't feel, but when you look at history, or when you look at an institution, and representing equally all gender and all classes and everything. So do you see that? Is there any gap? I feel a gap. I just wanted to ask everyone on that. Durgaji, would you like to comment on it?
Yeah, see, as you're saying, you're right that women artists have always been given a secondary all through the years, if you see, especially when you're talking of books and things like this. But I think now things have changed. But during that period, you're right that usually I think it's a men's problem actually, not a women's problem. They always think that women mean they can only bear children, they can be like a lover, they can be this, they can be that, but they can't be an artist. We are much more, I think we can fantasize things much more, we can paint better than them, but they have a problem. So when they have a problem, they have to correct the inside. They have to be well educated themselves. That women, they are the one who create this bias, actually not women. As a woman, we don't think that. Right. Both are important, men and women. I think for me, both are important, equally important. It's not that the woman is more superior or man is more superior. Both are required to balance this earth. So I think the men they have a problem. And even even the movies, if you see, whether it is film, whether it is artists or anything, the men have a great problem. I think they should go to psychiatrists, train their mind that, well, women is much superior in many ways, because we can give birth, we can create. Right. So I think they should have to deal with it. It's not our problem, it's their problem. Okay. Let the time come.
Anyone else wants to take it up?
I just want to add a small point here, Lubna, because it's not the women and the men artists which are not
right.
Yeah.
I think all artists from India need to be represented more on the world
cinema. Absolutely.
And also the institutions here, the National Gallery of Modern Art and the Lalit Kala Academy, they need to take up that responsibility along with the private galleries. The private galleries and institutions are doing a really great job, but the government somewhere down the line in the the late 90s, just even in the 2000s, just took a back seat. I don't know why that is happening, and the National Exhibition is a much quieter kind of a show now. And the National Gallery of Modern Art, one really very rarely sees works of artists in their 60s and their 50s now.
I mean,
were regularly collected till the year 2000 at the National Gallery of Modern Art, and suddenly all that has come to a standstill. Private institutions, I must say, accolades to, of course, it's a women-run institution. There's
that's a big point.
That's a big point. I think that might be a big point. Because of which probably the disparity, we don't see it now in the current contemporary scene. Because what you said, Kavitaji, it is like I'm remembering in the Met Museum 2017, they did you all would be knowing, 2017 they did this show of post-war abstract women artists. And how did that show come about? Because there were these two curators, and they were looking at a lot of artworks of women which is stored in the 60s, post-war, so 40, 50, 60s. And they were stored there. So you had the Agnes Martin, you had the Pollock's wife, what's his name? I forgot what's her name, Krasner. You had a lot of those works and a lot of lesser known works which were stored there. And they suddenly realized, both being women, by the way, both being women curators, that there are this, works that the museum had acquired over the years but never been shown properly. So then they put it all together and then they showed it. So I guess
again the women came forward, no?
Again the women came forward. That's my question. Because I know that I'm hearing all of you in terms of your personal success, but when I'm looking at it from material, when I'm looking at it from events and happening, I sometimes see a little bit of difference. So I just wanted to have this debate over here for that. And then I would like to ask, one thing, that feminist art and female artists are, of course, completely different things. And feminist art is where the gender is taking a political stance in it, and it's happening. And I guess, to the best of my knowledge, somewhere in 70s, 80s, and 90s, the way it was, now it is again back to more gender neutral. So anybody has any insight into it? Or Durgaji, maybe you could talk about it, because I saw your images also, and even Kavitaji, you have essence of womanhood is there in it. But what is your take on that? Or as women artists, do you feel that there is a responsibility to represent the gender in some way? Or is there any such or is it again a fanciful thing that the society imposes on us?
I don't think so. I have no such qualms about it. Like, I never even think about it, and I really don't know what feminism is all about, because I'm not a feminist at all. And I believe, okay, we are fine. We are all equal. That's it. But
Right.
then I have never tried to portray myself that I'm above male gender or
Right.
anybody else. Basically, that's
Right.
my take. Yeah,
Right.
anybody else can. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also feel that art actually comes from the soul of an artist. And,
Yeah.
whether we're representing women or men's issues are there for all of us. And there are ups and
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
men or women, and which need to be brought out to the public and to the viewer, and, the feel the pain or the joy or the happiness.
Or the joy or the pain. Yeah, right. Yeah. And I guess that those issues are not just restricted to gender. It's, it is race and classes and everything. The
And
whole
times
gender.
have changed, Lubna. Times
Yeah.
have changed really, because
Right.
globe has become so small now. Times have really changed. People have really moved forward. We are
Right.
no more in 50s and 60s.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now there's no difference as far as how we are exposed. Our exposures are all the same.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Being an artist, has it influenced the women that you are today? I'm asking a flip question, actually.
No, I don't. For me,
And
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
and I feel more than being the woman in me, it's the person in me, it's the
Okay.
human in me,
Right.
which has been a turn
Right.
as an artist, and
Right.
it's a big blessing to be an artist.
Great. Superb.
Yeah,
That.
you actually you imbibe that sensitivity which the normal person who's
Hmm.
not an artist doesn't really can't really feel it also, because we feel more towards everything. We react in our own different manner always. So
Right.
I think
Right.
it's a different feeling altogether to be an artist. Yes.
Right. Right. One common question to all of you: who are these artists? Just if you could name whom have you been influenced by, either personally or through their work. If you could share from each one of you, I would like to know. Man or a woman, doesn't matter. That's the spirit I would go by. And
Too much of this.
who are those influential, personalities who has, you know, whom you have learned from or whom you have got inspired by. Anything. It could be a personal one-to-one interaction, or it could be their works. Why didn't you, Kavita Jaiswal ji, while the images are showing, you could also answer the question. And yeah, so these are the ones which were the early ones that you were talking about, the embosses.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I must say that the images come on at a very beautiful moment when answering your question, because
Right.
Nassim Mohammadi, as an artist, has
Right.
influenced me hugely. I was very young when she was there, absolutely right there in the prime of her work, and her gentleness, her softness, and yet the monumental abstraction in her work, the larger than life images.
Absolutely.
Very, very beautiful, and from the heart. And she really, really inspired me to get into abstraction fully. These are those two etchings which I was talking about at the Edinburgh printmakers. These are called Silence. Can we move to the next slide of the etching? Yeah, this one. Here you
Right.
can see it a little better, where you can see the embossed parts of the plate, which left their impressions behind without color. Can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah, this was the exhibition No Beginning, No End at the Art Consult, where I spoke about my poem and how layers and layers of existence, they settle down on paper, and the life, even though the life force kind of dries down, which is the water over here, the impressions are here to stay.
Right.
Can we move to the next slide? This is another image from there, and this work of course also talks about memory and a kind of layers of memory. If you see the lighter tones at the back, these are those fading thoughts and memories in time, and the darker tones on top are the current in the present moment. And of course, I was talking about the present moment as the only reality, and a no beginning, no end of existence.
Right.
Next slide, please. This is a painting. I worked very little on canvas. My work has mostly been on paper, or I have done video art, and I've done still photography. So canvas works are few and rare, but some of them came out really soft and gentle. Canvas as the basic medium, I found it a little hard. Way harder than paper. This is called Zephyr. It's a mixed media on canvas in acrylic and rice paper and pumice stone crush on canvas. So can the next Zephyr, and here you can see the freedom, in the movement and
that
the
we
line.
talked about, yeah.
Yeah, we jump now straight into another series of Zephyr, which I came up with 1, 2, and 3. These are pen and ink drawings on black Arches paper. And here again, these gentle lines are infused with the kind of the universal energy and holding the matrix of existence together and infusing it with power and of the divine plan.
Right.
So this is where, and everything is so light.
Wonderful.
Next slide, please. This is another work. I work a lot in line, and a lot of my research and my work has been through the line, and the twisting and the turning of the line, and it being strong and it being soft and gentle at moments, and depending on the emotion and the mood, the line brings out that mood. In this work, this is also one of my recent works called Threads, and here again is like the universal energy in threads, holding together the fabric of our existence, and darning it, holding it together, putting patches together, and yet there is a free flow of energy and a freedom in which kind of just disappears into the space around us.
Wonderful.
Next slide, please. Yeah, this was the book of prayers, which I was talking about. If you see the yellow area in the middle, this suddenly felt like the book of prayers, which had opened and kind of just released its prayers into the universe. And this was during the early days of the lockdown, when there was no next happening, and it was only going inwards and going into prayer. Next slide, please. This was manuscripts, which I said were found in the forests of no time, actually, but it was actually real. It happened in my house. There was that fire, and I picked up these pieces and I kind of collaged them onto new sheets of paper. And since I was talking about prayers and I was talking about a wordless text which was floating around in my letters to the wind, the text appears here also in pools of these water, or you can call them clouds, you can call them space, you can call them anything.
Right.
Next slide, please. This is another one. It almost feels like an island to me, like secluded somewhere in an open space, which is neither water nor air nor anything. It is no time altogether. Next one, please. I call them manuscripts also because of the text,
Text that you have,
It's worse than hieroglyphics. You just can't read it, but you can only feel the text. This was the letters to the wind, which I was writing while I was on my walks, while I was with my daughter, and during the fall colors. You can see, and you can see in the white marks over here. If you can see the white and the black marks, I don't know whether you can see my mouse. It's moving all over the image, but you can't
see your mouse, but we can see the white and the black marks.
Yeah. So these were the letters to the wind. This is one of my current works.
Right, okay.
Acrylic ink and pen on ashes paper. Can we move to the next slide, please? This is another one on the letters to the wind. Again, you can see the text, you can see the freedom, the formlessness and the timelessness and the seamlessness of in space, and so much peace, so much joy.
Wonderful.
Can we move to the next one, please? Yeah, this was Landscapes of Memory and Time. These are some of my very, very, very recent works. And here, coming to these works, while you enjoy looking at them, and these are again layering of paper. This is washi and rice paper. It's a Japanese paper. In fact, I'm probably will be going on an artist residency to Japan next year. It was to happen at the end of this year in a paper factory where they make washi paper, and it's like a residency after my heart. And I hope the COVID times help me and let me go there and actually create the paper that I want to use in my work. So while you enjoy looking at these, I'll just read out the rest of the poem, which was created for the current show, which is called Landscapes of Memory and Experience, and it's these works that are showing. And it says, the rest of the poem says, it's like writing on water and writing on air. The appearance and the disappearance are simultaneous. A wordless text appears, then dissolves. Years of mark making, my body flows spontaneously.
Wonderful, wonderful.
There's just one more after this, and I think we can bind up the slide presentation. Yeah, this is the last one. And here again, you can see there are some of the burnt bits from my manuscripts, which have appeared in this work.
Wonderful.
So much. Thanks.
Interesting.
I'm glad we could show it to you. I mean, we could show it to the audience. We could have the slideshows. So we're almost coming to the end of the thing. So just a few last questions. If anyone wanted to take up who influenced you, Kavita ma'am or Durgaji, if you want to talk, and then I'll probably ask about the current situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to say that, if as an artist, that as you were saying, the 50s, 60s, there are all these women, you hardly find less books on women, or not much importance given to women artists. If we start thinking about that particular thing, we will not be able to paint. So that all thing, whether they are giving us important or not, is not in the mind.
Yes.
Because we know what we are doing.
Right.
We can't please it. You can't please all.
Right. Absolutely.
And we have to do our work. Let history judge us, because if men don't want to write on us, doesn't matter. There should be some women who should start writing books on women artists.
Right.
Why always depend on men to write books on us?
That's a very important point.
You start writing books on women artists.
Actually, I have done an independent research on women abstract artists, young artists. I think Kavitaji knows younger artists, the younger lot who was. So that's how I got interested in this.
Oh, you must start You must focus only on women artists. Write books only on women artists. So all women should write that. So you have more women artists, and men will decide what's wrong. I think we have to be blamed, not the men. We have to be blamed.
Important
books on women.
So maybe the last question I wanted to ask all of you are, artist community, the young artist community look up to you, and they obviously the situation that we are in today, and the famous year that we'll never forget in our lifetime and our children's lifetime, 2020. What it taught us. So the reality of one part of, as I was mentioning yesterday in the talk, one part is of course the joy of the creativity, which probably more time for self-reflection and all that happened to all of you, and the joy of coming up with new works, new skill, and new this thing. And other is the reality of the market and the fact that we have all gone virtual, which is a great thing. One of the biggest thing that has happened is the art world is kind of removing the shackles of the brick and mortar model and just getting little this thing modern and updated. But your advice to particularly to those artists who have chosen their field and are just kind of starting off or just decided to be, and for them it can be very disconcerting the time, and so what would be, I would like to know from each one of you, what would be your advice to them?
So I would say that the social media is doing really, really well. And there are actually no boundaries where the image is just flying around, and the moment you put it on an Instagram or the Facebook or anywhere, it just goes all over the place. So the young artists of today, yes, please use these platforms. You guys really know how to do all the hashtags, etc., and at the rates. And please do that and use this time to let your image fly around. The physical galleries will open up. Yes, there is absolutely, you cannot replace what is online and digital with actually physically going and seeing the work and even being able to touch it. Yes, let's pray for everybody. Let's pray for the whole world to settle down, this virus to disappear, and life come back to normal.
That's great. Durgaji?
Well, I would say that the lockdown or the COVID-19, whatever you say, I think one who has to paint is painting. If you can't afford a canvas, you can paint on paper. But I think we have learned a big lesson that the superficial world is not the real world. There's a world beyond it. So I think we all have been set up in our places, and all those superficial, I think the art world had gone absolutely crazy. The young artists should price them very modestly. They were pricing it 1 lakh, 2 lakh. When I told them, like, suppose if an artist doesn't have a job and he says he needs some money, also I said, okay, you come 4 hours 3 times weekly to my thing and I'll give you 10,000 rupees. I'm just telling you, they don't want to do it because they're expecting 30,000 now. Now they don't have a job. Now they have nothing. Nobody's calling them to help them out, because when we wanted to help them, they were saying they want salary of 30 and 40,000 rupees just to come for 3 hours, 3 times a week. So, even if they're doing working, they should price it so modestly that, others can buy it. If one wants to buy it,
becoming artificially inflated is what you're saying. The market, that will get.
I think what I learned from Arpana Kaur, like, when the market was booming, he said, Durga, look, we have to price our work in such a way and not follow the superficial prices that's coming up.
Right.
He said, whatever you are doing, just add little bit, but don't do. Now you see those people who had hyped their price to 40 lakh and 50 lakh today, even in 4 lakh, they are not able to sell.
Right.
So we have to very modestly, whether it is COVID or it is lockdown or it is no lockdown, we should do it in such a way that we are able to paint more, we get more money, buy a paint. Not that in a year, if you're pricing your work for 2 lakh rupees, a young artist, and he's selling no work, it's better you price them 25,000, 30,000, a small work, let people buy and you survive well.
Do you think this change will happen? Do you think this change will happen after this? I mean, do you think that
yes,
what we call rectification in the market, basically?
Yes, they are selling the work in 10,000. I said, see, if I buy your work for 50,000 after few months or after COVID, you're saying your work is for 10,000. It should not. Work has to be, the prices has to be little.
Yes, of course.
Consistent. And if you're young, if you're just out of college or since 5-10 years you're painting, so make sure that you need 30,000 to survive in a month.
Right.
So make it in such a way that you get that 30,000 every month, rather than you wait for the whole year and you're able to sell even for 1 lakh.
Right.
So they are the one who are living in the superficial world. So now they will come to the original real world now.
I guess by end of it, if we have more positive outcomes than the negatives that we have been facing, that is the only learning that we have. We seem to have lost. We seem to have lost Kavita Nayar, ma'am. But I guess we would. It was such a lovely talking to all of you. She was there when I'm closing it. But
thank you, Lubna.
Talking to such rock solid, fiery, strong women artists, it just adds more, and also feeling the whole takeaway for me is that it is not the gender really. It is really how you all have looked at life and how your the free spirit does not have any gender, as Kavitaji, you were also saying something on a similar line, and those were my takeaways. And as Durgaji also said, that let the history judge what it is. You do your best. There's no point of having the burden of what I am, who I am coming into our work, and the history has a way of judging and finding its place. So that is the best couple of takeaways, other than the fact that I'm delighted somehow to figure, I can't fathom this, that all four of us are having multiple sisters in our household. So that is a lovely insight that I'll probably take forward. And Durga Kainthola and Kavita Jaiswal and Kavita Nayar, who is not here, but right now she's dropped out. But thank you so much for your time and showing your works. And hopefully this audience will also be inspired, and hopefully we will newer artists will also get inspired during this time. They need a lot of inspiration. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for coming. And with this, I would like to close the session.
Thank you so much, Lubna. I really want to thank you for coordinating this whole thing so beautifully and for holding this whole conversation together with your knowledge and your strengths. All the best to you too. And thank you so much, and see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you soon, personally. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Bye.